Hey guys, Shorty here from SuperCoach HQ and welcome to the latest edition of the site's 40 in 40 as we count down to the first bounce of the 2019 season and talk everything SuperCoach. Now, you most often hear me dealing out a little bit of advice, profiling players and trying to hand out some reasonable tips in order to get our SuperCoach teams fit and firing. But it doesn't always go quite to plan. So today I thought we'd lighten things up. Instead of going deep into the details and the numbers, I thought I'd take you back to 2015 where I'll discuss what was, undoubtedly the worst trade I've ever done, and probably right up there was as bad a trade as you could possibly do. I often say that trading is my strong suit. I do back myself into trade efficiently and smartly in order to have a very good team in the latter stages of the season, but this was certainly far from one of my finer moments. Now, the trade involves our great man Paddy Cripps, who has been outstanding for us and will be for years to come in Supercoach land, and I've long been a fan of his. Even in the early days, I was a big fan of him through his TAC Cup days and was all over him in terms of him being an absolute jet one day. I talked him up prior to him even playing a game. I was a big fan, and that first season it didn't quite go to plan. He only played the 3 games. Injury really took its toll, and I think he only averaged 39. So it really wasn't what a man of his capability was capable of. Pick 13, but it did leave us having a fairly juicy selection and a 211k Paddy Cripps in his second season. And it looked pretty tasty. Through the pre-season, I was watching him closely on the radar. Really keen to see what he could do. He was built very mature for his age, and the opportunity was there at the Blues, and I thought, this could be an outstanding selection. I think he's pretty cheap. I think he'll get the opportunity. I just need a little bit of encouragement through the pre-season. Now, I remember in the first practice game, he was okay without being great. And then I thought, look, I really just need a bit of encouragement in this second one just to back it in. I think I'll pick him, but, spending that 70 or 80k extra from a base price rookie, you just want to be confident about it. So I saw him rack up, I think from memory, about 32 touches in the second practice game, and he really filled his boots and made himself not only a lock for my side, but he really showed himself as almost a lock for a lot of other teams, and really did say, well, look, you guys need to pick me, and I certainly did. So I locked him in. I was feeling pretty good. Now, one of my mottos for this season and little golden rules that I wanted to go by, I wanted to hit the season hard, early, go fast, really generate some cash early on in the season, because I'd felt like at times I'd had slow starts and had sort of been battling to get back into that top 5,000 and leaving my run too late. And I felt probably the best way to counteract this is to make sure I've got a nice purse early in the season, make tough calls, really get players playing early, playing their 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, and really making sure that I have a big cash pocket to just go bang and strike early with those upgrades and getting those cash cows in. Just a little background to help you out in a minute. Now, Cripps didn't start the world on fire against the Tigers in the season opener. Just the 14 touches and 53 Supercoach points. Then he missed round 2 with back tightness, and that concerned me a touch, because a young man with back tightness, he played out the game in round 1, he played it out, and I was a little bit concerned about him missing. Now, he did come back and play round 3, but it was at this point that I had already made a tough call. Nathan Van Berlo was priced at 215k, just 4k dearer than our friend Paddy Cripps. Now, Van Berlo, the more experienced player, producing very solid averages throughout his career, had missed the previous season with an Achilles injury, hence his low price tag. Now, following on from my mantra of wanting to make sure I was dealing with hard and fast numbers that were in front of me, not necessarily being super patient with guys, just dealing with, if there was someone who was producing at the time, lock them in, bank those points and watch the money flow in. Now, Van Berlo had enjoyed a solid start to the season, tackling hard as he always does. He'd scored 82 in round 1 and 103 in round 2. Now, this left me in a bit of a quandary. Now, on one hand, I had Paddy Cripps, who I'd been a big fan of for a long time. But on paper, he was a youngster who has been injury prone, just missed with back tightness, and only had 53 points in the first game. Meanwhile, I had a guy who is a solid player, a bit of a journeyman, been around for a long time. He's got 82 and 103 on the board. Needs to play one more game. I'm dealing with a very low break even, well into the negatives. I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get cash next week. Bang. It's going to be there for me. I don't even really know if Cripps is going to return. Is he going to have longevity this season? A few more question marks around him. Now, if I was going with my absolute gut, I would have been a bit more patient with Cripps. But as I was saying, the money was there in front of me. He already had 185 points on the board in 2 weeks. And Cripps just had the 53 and was struggling. And I ummed and ahed over it because I'd pumped him up all pre-season. I'd been on board the Cripps bandwagon for a long time. Me and my mate used to do videos on his channel, Tizio100. You can check it out if you like. I even pumped his tyres up pre-season. 5 guys to look out for. Check out this bloke. He'll be the next big thing. I was really backing him home. Now, I thought, do you just stay patient with him? But I felt, no, don't let your heart rule this one, Shorty. Go with your head. You know, the points are there with Van Berlo. He's maybe not the sexy option, but he's a safe option. Just bank those points. He'll be solid, but bank those points and you get what you get. You know it's there for you. Now, this is where it turned awfully pear-shaped. First week, you know, I made the trade, 4K difference, doesn't really matter. I'm getting the money. That's all well and good. You know, Van Berlo wasn't outstanding. He only scored the 66 points. Cripps scored 89. That was pretty impressive. And I thought, oh, that's a bugger. That's annoying. But you can't judge a trade off 1 week. It was the following week that still has me waking up in the middle of the night from time to time. We all know the pain of seeing a guy dominate after you trade him out. That'll hurt in any circumstance. But a bloke that you have pumped up and been in his camp and in his corner for a very long time, and then to trade him out right before he explodes and say goodbye to what has probably been one of the best cash cows we've seen over the journey, that stings. Now, I remember following the live scores between Carlton and St Kilda in New Zealand. I wasn't listening to it, I wasn't watching it, I was just, I might have flicked on the radio at certain stages, but I was certainly following the live stats. And every possession was painful as Cripps just racked them up, all 33 of them. 8 kicks, 25 handballs, classic in and under Paddy Cripps. 11 tackles, 8 clearances, absolutely dominated. 172 SuperCoach points. Even kicked a goal, Paddy. And gee, did that hurt. I remember following it very closely, and the pain of every point was just brutal. I was ripping my hair out, and still sometimes you look back, I tell this one of my friends sometimes, there's not many trades that you remember. I mean, you make a lot of trades, some are good, some are bad. But this one has just stuck in my mind for a long time. It was just an absolute bang your head against the wall moment. He scored 172 SuperCoach points and skyrocketed in price, you know, and absolutely dominated. And not only was I missing out on those points, I was missing out on the massive rise in price that he was about to receive. And on top of that, he was a guy that I had pumped the tyres up for many years. So it really, really did sting. I mean, we all have those guys that are our favourites and we go, gee, I picked them last year, they didn't fire. If I don't pick him this year and he fires, it's going to leave a bad taste in my mouth. But this one was just absolutely savage because I had the bloke. I had him in my team. And you got rid of him. And, you know, to add insult to injury, I thought, well, I remember thinking on the night, this is bloody annoying. all my mates are rejoicing in what has been an unbelievable score. You know, this isn't 110, 120 score, which if you get a 110 or 120 from a rookie, it's unbelievable. This is a 172. This is going to be one of the highest scores of the season. I've traded the prick out for Van Berlo. Unbelievable scenes. And I remember thinking on the night, this is a disaster, but, you know, you still got a guy who's averaging, what would have that been? I think high 70s, you know. Okay, you've probably made a mistake here, but it might not be a disaster. Van Berlo, as I said, scored that 66, then a 45, then a 44, then a 57. Need I say the rest? It was painful. He just did not perform. Just seduced me with his opening 2 scores with an average of 90 odd. And I pulled the trigger. Van Berlo in, Cripps out. And it's got to go down as one of the absolute howlers. An absolute stinker of a trade. And Cripps, from that moment, averaged 99. Which, yeah, that wasn't exactly something I enjoyed seeing. For a man that I love watching play now. And I loved watching him in my side absolutely dominate last year. Absolutely dominate. And I'm sure he'll enjoy plenty of big averages in the coming years and make many a Supercoacher happy. But every time he turned up for the rest of that season, it was just a little cut. Just a little cut to Shorty. But that day where he scored 172, I just remember going through the game, you know, checking it, and I thought, oh, geez, he's on whatever he was at quarter time. I thought, God, this ain't good, you know. But he'll slow up. He's a youngster. Nah, I think he was on around 80 odd at half time. Someone might remember a bit more correctly than me. Absolutely dominating, and you're just hoping to slow up. Nothing worse than when you're midway through the third quarter and you're like, geez, they've probably got what I was hoping they wouldn't get, and it's 10 minutes into the third quarter. Never in my wildest dreams did I think he'd pump out 172 and rub a serious amount of salt into the wound. So that's just something to maybe ease the pain. And listen to this video when you've maybe had an absolute stinker of a week, or a shocking decision, or a trade hasn't gone your way. You know, it happens to the best of us, you know. It does happen to everyone. And I just thought, in what will be a pre-season filled with plenty of data and numbers and analysing all sorts of structures and players, I thought, not bad to just reminisce on what was some of the darker times in Supercoach of years gone by. But thanks for listening into my little yarn there. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you're listening on my YouTube channel, feel free to leave a comment. If you've had a similar howler, or by all means on the SuperCoach HQ website, leave a comment as well. Any sort of shocking trades you can recall making would be quite interesting to have a read over, and be sure to check out all the other content on the website and at my channel, Shorty's SuperCoach, as well. So it's not too far now. We're really getting stuck into the nitty-gritty of Supercoach and the pre-season and everything AFL. It's great to have it right front and centre in the media and really gearing up for another season. It's exciting. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you all soon. Cheers.